The Queen Elizabeth Hotel in Montreal had a high-end restaurant, and one of its marketing shticks was to invite prominent personalities, political figures, celebrities, executives, and so forth to join its quote Beaver Club unquote. It supposedly goes back to the days of the Courrier de Bois and stuff like that. Here's my father signing the members register. There's my mother on the left and the restaurant staff waiting in anticipation behind him. At that time, he was an executive, sales executive with the Canada Bread Company and had been for years. My older brother and I are here on a Canadian Forces Navy ship that, along with a couple of its sisters, was parked at Montreal Harbor. And my Uncle Ted took us down there, and it's noted as September 1958. Nope, both me and my brother are wearing jackets, sports jackets. This is my grade 4 class photograph from 1960. At the time, I was going to Westway Public School, which was east of Kipling Avenue, south of Dixon, in Etobicoke. Here is my grade 5 class photograph from 1961. Again, this is from when I was attending Westway Public School. The autograph page for the same grade 5 class photo shows my signature in the upper right corner. I can see some similarities to my signature today. For a period of time, my father was the Central Canadian sales manager for Seagram's Distilleries, the Sam Bronfman Company. This is a photograph showing on the left Charles Bronfman, who was Samuel Bronfman's son, and at the time the president of Seagram's Canada. And in the middle is Jack Baker. He's an ex-football player, but at the time he was the vice president of sales for Seagram's Canada. And on the right is my father, who, as I say, was the Central Canadian sales manager. Here are my parents at some event in Quebec City in January 1963. I don't know who the man on the left is, but his face rings a bell. I'm just wondering if he was a CBC personality at the time. This is the family dog, Taffy. She was a mutt, I'm sure, but I think the name given to her was she was a toy terrier. This picture dates from the late 60s. It shows Taffy lying on my bed. She'd been hit by a car on the street, Grove Tree Road, outside our house. Came home limping, had some work done by a veterinarian, and thereafter she always walked with a limp and basically needed to be carried up and down stairs. Here I have a jacket, vest, and tie for the grade 9 class photograph when I attended, as I did throughout high school, Thistletown Collegiate in northern Etobicoke, the area called Rexdale. That's real Rob Ford country today. We lived in a sort of an enclave. It was perched on a hill bounded by the Humber River on one side, Islington Avenue on the other. We lived at 26 Grove Tree Road. This looks like my grade 10 class photograph. I've ditched the vest, but I've got a new jacket, still wearing a tie. The fellow in front of me, more just to my left with the glasses on, is Garth Graham, who would eventually become one of my brothers in the high school fraternity, and we get together for a reunion a few years ago. I did this charcoal sketch in 1966 when I was 16. I've kept it all these years because I really think it's kind of cool. This is me at Expo 67. A friend of mine, Dave Bartlett, who was a fraternity brother of mine, and I went to Expo 67. We went by train, came back by train. While we were there about 3 days, 4 days. We stayed at my aunt and uncle Ted and Ivy's apartment. They have a spare bedroom. It was a lot of fun. Very, very exciting sort of event. This is the sales receipt for the first car I ever owned. It was a 1961 Wolseley sedan. I paid a total of, including tax, $222 for it. This was in August 1968. This is a 1961 Wolseley. It's not the car I owned, but it's a duplicate, if you will, except mine was all black. It had a leather interior and walnut trim everywhere. And if you went in the back seat, they had fold-down picnic tables that dropped down from the back of the front seat. It was a very plush car for its day, but it really needed the shock absorbers replaced. I only owned it for about a month and sold it for $300. This is hard to read, but this is a retail sales tax slip and a sales receipt, a bill of sale from the seller of the next car I owned after the Wolseley, and it was a 1961 Morris Mini Minor. The bill of sale indicates I paid $50 for it. That's not true. I paid $110, but he put in a lower amount so I wouldn't have to pay as much retail sales tax. This is that 1961 Mini Morris. You can see it's got wood trim on the side. It had a stick shift and what I call barn doors at the back. They opened outwards from the middle rather than being a single door or a hatchback kind of thing. Here it is in profile, taken on the driveway of our house at 26 Rotree Road. This is the certificate mechanical fitness for the third car I owned, having sold the Mini Morris for a small profit. I bought a 1965 MGB in 1968. It was in something like November or something. This is a mirror image of the MGB I owned, including the wire wheels and the color, but mine had a chrome luggage rack on the trunk. You can't see it from here, but I don't imagine this MGB had fog lights on the front, which mine did. I had a tonneau cover as well as the convertible hand take up and take down roof. It was a lot of fun. Stick shift, of course. This is my 1952 Morgan Plus 4 four-seater. I purchased this car between first year and second year university, so that would have been the summer of 1970. I paid $1,500 for it. It was a stick shift, a Moss transmission, which made it very difficult for the average person to work. It had no synchromesh whatsoever, and the clutch pedal was a terror. You literally had to spread out, push your back against the seat, push your leg down in order to get that clutch to work. But it was a lot of fun to drive because it was such an eye catcher. This is my friend and fellow fraternity brother Harry Osmond and I sitting in his driveway in the Morgan. Notice the leather belts holding the hood down. Here's the Morgan in profile. I had to sell it in the summer of 1973 in order to raise money to pay law school tuition. I sold it for $1,250, which broke my heart. I'd love to have it back for twice the price. I was the classroom representative to the Students' Administrative Council. I have no recollection of doing anything. This is my grade 12 diploma. An entrepreneurial thing we did in high school was uh, buy by consignment a bunch of chocolate bars. These are quarter-pound chocolate bars made by the world finest chocolate company uh, out of Campbellford, Ontario. We had them printed, me and a couple of buddies, uh, as fundraisers for the Student Travel Association, proceeds to assist our summer trip. We sold a few of them and sent the rest back, so we made a little money. It was kind of fun. The Thistletown Collegiate Yearbook was called The Klansman. This is the 1969 edition, the front cover. Here is my entry in that 1969, that would be grade 13 yearbook. It indicates my ambition is business administration at Western University. My destination is managing Max Milk. My act is waiting in line at the Motor Vehicle Bureau. Aversion, automobile graveyard, say, so meanwhile So this excerpt from the yearbook, grade 12 yearbook, shows me in the as a Klansman representative, which meant I had something to do with putting together the yearbook. In the bottom half of the page, you see a photograph of me and my three colleagues who were on a panel representing our school on the Reach for the Top quiz show. Reach for the Top was a quiz show put on by the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. It was moderated by Alex Trebek, who will be familiar with most people because of his association with Jeopardy and Double Jeopardy. He would ask a number of general knowledge questions, and the two panels, one from our school, one from a competing school, would punch a button, a buzzer would ring, and if you were fast enough, you get the answer to the question. Hopefully right. We won the first round, lost the second round to a panel from Northern Secondary School. There, two of the four folks from Northern were twin brothers, and they were really on top of things. It really pissed me off. I can still remember this day punching my button, and there's always a lag. So I think that I got to hit it first, but I didn't. The guys from Northern hit the button first. That was a contest where I did hit the button first before them, but I got the wrong answer. The question was, what's the source of the word barbarians? I punched the button in a knee-jerk reaction, gave the answer, which was, well, back in the day, the Barbary pirates used to capture people, and they would tie them up on a stake and burn them to death, and that's how they got the word barbecue from Barbary pirates, and there we go. They became barbarians. So that wasn't the correct answer. As you can see, the quality of marketing around Thistletown Collegiate was not of top caliber. Here is my grade 13 graduating photograph. Grade 13 honor graduation diploma. The honor comes from the fact that I graduated from grade 13 and not just grade 12. I went to first year university at Western Ontario. This is a photograph of the folks on my floor of a wing at Saugeen Hall Residence, which was a brand new residence built for incoming freshman students. The whole building was full of freshmen. Men on one side and on a wing on the other side on multiple floors were the residences for the ladies. I'm showing here in the back row. It was a wild place, as you might imagine, with this crew. A friend, Craig Archibald, and I set up our own little painting business one summer in order to raise money for tuition in the fall and so forth. And this was the flyer that we made up and handed out or delivered throughout our neighborhoods. We did well. It was a kind of enjoyable work, but and well paid. Here is Craig Archibald with a boat we bought together. It was a 16-foot snipe, used and heavily repaired. The insides were just coated with fiberglass to keep the wood together, I guess. That's one of the cars I owned, a 1968 or 69 Volkswagen Beetle. I used it to pull the boat around. It was and it worked fine.